Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, August 22nd, 2023. We have the pleasure of getting together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk with our distribution partners and now even our clients. We talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. We're here to support each of you. We had a really good training yesterday. Appreciate those of you that were on it live and those that listened to it afterwards. We talked about a slight tweak, a slight change in how we're handling the financing of the refundable setup fee. Today, we're going to take a step back and look at more globally, what does it take to get funded? Because if we are all on the same page regarding this topic, how it works, and what we do, then we'll be very successful. But if we don't have agreement or common understanding, it's a recipe for frustration, dissentment, or dissatisfaction. So let's go ahead and get started. At any time, if you have questions, comments, concerns, type it into the Q&A box. It's like a chat box of Zoom. So, when I was putting this together, I struggled with the topic because there's so many different ways that we could spin this. But I guess this is the best topic. What does it take to get funded? What is it that you and I do to help clients? What is it that clients need to know? And so this is a training that's just fine for clients to listen to, but it's essential for those of you that are distribution partners to understand. So we're going to turn it around. I guess it's really not a secret because what we're talking about isn't something that we invented or came up with that we know that other people don't know. It's really just a difference between those individuals who are financially literate in the field of financial capital acquisition versus those that aren't. So when we use the term that someone's not financially literate, it's not an insult. It's not a judgment. It's not suggesting that you and I are smarter than them. It's just some people don't know what they don't know. And the worst case scenario is when people don't know what they don't know, and then they make wrong inferences, wrong assumptions. They come to the wrong conclusions. So let's talk reality. Let's talk about facts. And then we can talk about how to apply it. So it's well known by those who have financial literacy, but it's at the same time a common misunderstanding by those who are out looking for funds to start or grow a business. So we're going to review the 3 C's and talk about how our credit and funding program legally, ethically, effectively addresses each. Now, I know we've talked about the 3 C's before, so please, but please don't tune us out because we're witnessing some mistakes being made in the field by some of our branches. And that was the catalyst for our training today, is to step back and make sure we're on the same page. So let's start with credit. In terms of the 3 C's, credit is probably the C that most people recognize and have the best understanding of, or at least the awareness of. So here's the fact, and then we'll dig in. So the lender will check your credit report, could be personal or business, to assess the kind of borrower you were in the past. Now, some of this doesn't feel good, especially if we don't have real good credit. When we use these very objective statements, it can feel a little uncomfortable. I can tell you that I work with a lot of people that have not been honorable paying their bills in the past. They almost always have an excuse. They almost always have a reason, and they probably don't take personal responsibility for it. Again, I'm not casting any judgment. It's not my place to do it. But if someone has a poor credit profile and or a poor credit score, it's because the information that the bureaus have, whether it be personal with Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and or on the business side with Equifax Business, Experian Business, and or Dun & Bradstreet, the reflection is these people have not paid as agreed. They've not been honorable. They've not been honest. And so that is a red flag in getting funding. Well, at first glance, you'd hear that and say, well, oh my gosh, we're screwed then, right? Because you and I work a lot with people that haven't done what they said they would do in the past. But what you and I know is credit doesn't have a memory. Credit is fluid. Credit can be legally manipulated, but we'll get to that in a moment. So an applicant's credit, again, talks about what kind of borrower they've been in the past, whether they were an honest borrower or one who didn't pay as promised. Well, why does that matter? Right? Why would that matter? Well, no one knows the future, but the best predictor of the future is the past, and most specifically, the recent past, right? So if you haven't paid bills in the past 3 months, for example, that's going to weigh really, really heavily on your credit score and going to weigh very heavily on the underwriting decision of do they think that you'll pay your bills in the future. So again, this is not a lecture to you. You and I are on the same team, right? We're out helping educate, build financial literacy, and help solve problems. But we need to go into this eyes wide open, right? It's almost ironic that when we have critics of what we do and how we do it, it's typically these people that haven't done what they promised in the past, and then they expect unrealistic expectations. They have unrealistic expectations of what's going to happen going forward. So how is it that we measure credit? Well, we all have personal credit profiles, and if we have a business, we have business credit profiles. Therefore, there are credit reports for each of those. And then there's some blended reports. So it's objective. Now, it could be wrong, but it's objective. There's numbers on the page that show that the client has either paid their bills as they promised or didn't. It reflects a cumulative credit score based upon all these variables of how many inquiries, their revolving utilization, their payment history. So it's objective information. I'm not saying it's always accurate, and I'm not saying that we can't make it better, because we're going to talk about that in just a second. We can legally and ethically make it better. But these are numbers on the page. And so to come into our program for clients, to come into our program and think, oh, my credit doesn't matter, is only true in the spirit that we're going to help them improve it. But that doesn't mean that credit doesn't matter in getting approved for funding. With that being said, there's different types of funding. Some don't even look at credit. Some have different requirements. But credit, all 3 C's matter. Not in terms of, oh, we're not going to accept someone because they don't have good enough credit. We don't turn anyone away. But that shouldn't be wrongfully inferred that credit won't matter when we apply for funding. Often it does. So what is it that you and I do to fix people's credit if they've not managed it well in the past? And again, I just want to drill in on this, not as a personal attack on those individuals, but our credit reports are a barometer of our honesty at the core of, do we do what we promised to do? Did we pay for that mortgage on time? Did we pay for that student loan on time? Did we pay for that credit card payment on time? Those were explicit promises that these individuals made when they applied for and accepted those terms of credit. And if they didn't, it shows that they're dishonest. It shows that they're untrustworthy. It shows that they're risky, and it prevents them from getting approved. So what is it that you and I do? We change their history and we create a better picture legally and ethically. So the credit and funding program includes both credit sweep, which removes applicable negative items. So it changes, literally changes their past credit history, and credit boost, whereby we add new positive trade lines to make them look stronger. So this is incredibly powerful. Now, this is not all that it takes for funding. This is one of the 3 C's, but this is powerful. So first of all, we have to really get our arms around understanding our credit. I'll just so often have clients that come to me or come to us, and they've not done what they promised to do in the past. They've not been honest. They've not been honorable. They've not fulfilled their commitments, and they have unrealistic expectations. So what we need to do is embrace them, love them, obviously enroll them in the credit and funding program if they haven't. And what we're going to do are two things. We're going to help improve their past. Don't we all wish we could do that in life in general? What if we could go back and fix our past mistakes? I bet all of us would have a few that we could fix, right? Well, you and I can literally fix their past mistakes on their credit reports and help them look better going forward by adding new primary trade lines. Absolutely huge. So who has questions, comments, concerns on the first of the 3 C's? What it is, why it matters, and then what you and I can do to help them through the credit and funding program. Any questions on that? Just type it into the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom. All right, looks like we're all on the same page. So let's roll forward to the second of the 3 C's. Now we're going to talk about collateral. Collateral is also very important, but it's different. It's a different C. So let's read what it says on the page. Your assets are taken into account when calculating your borrowing capacity by the lender. Greater, in other words, more, collateral empowers your borrowing potential and thus makes lenders more confident when lending you the money. So again, this is based upon numbers. This is not feelings or emotions. This is based upon numbers. Well, how do we find the numbers of a client's collateral? It is found on their balance sheet on the business side, which shows assets and liabilities, and or on their PFS, personal financial statement, for them individually. So this is an accurate real-time reflection of the collateral that they have to pledge for the loan. It's real, it's objective, and it's important. So again, we may not have great news for the client when we review their credit. We may not have great news about the client's collateral, but in all 3 C's, we can move them legally and ethically from where they're at to where they need to be. That's the promise that we make. Look at our agreement. We promise to provide the guidance and consultative services to get them from where they're at to where they need to be. And we can do it 100% of the time. So how would we do that? How is that possible? If someone doesn't have enough collateral, how can that be fixed? It sounds too good to be true. Well, it's not. What we're going to do is provide all clients, every single client for free. When they enroll in the credit and funding program, we transfer to them collateral for free. It's part of the program. Why do we do that? Because we know it's a primary barrier for most people. Most people do not have the collateral that they need to get the funding that they want. People think credit, credit, credit. Credit's important for the reasons we talked about. Most people are not thinking about collaterals because they're not financially literate. They're not trained. They're not educated in the field of business finance like you and I are. Collateral matters. It's the second of the 3 C's. So we will provide all of them assets in the form of accounts receivables. This is legal. This is ethical. We truly transfer the title from us to them, just like we could give them a rental property, just like we could give them an automobile, just like we could give them a piece of heavy equipment. But we need to transfer ownership, transfer the title, the true legal ownership. And we do that for free for every client enrolled in the credit and funding program. Specifically, we transfer $10,000 of assets to every client, typically within 24 hours of them enrolling. So even if they're doing the financing, right? So they only have $250 down on the refundable setup fee. We are still sending them $10,000 typically within 24 hours. What a deal. Any client that would say, well, I'm not getting anything out of this, or I'm not seeing results quick enough, are foolish or misinformed. because they're getting assets. We're helping them build their collateral immediately. Now, where some issues came up overnight, a couple of you kind of bombarded me with emails, which is fine, misunderstanding collateral. So what we promise to do and what we do is transfer $10,000 of receivables. That's what I said. That's what's in the agreement. That's what's on the website. That's what we do. We do what we say that we'll promise to do. But what if they still don't have enough collateral? It's called a collateral shortfall. It's based upon numbers, not emotions, not feelings. So the client has a defined amount of capital that they're trying to raise. They have also a defined amount of assets that they can pledge as collateral. So it's a mathematical formula, right? So let's say that they want to raise 100,000 just for simple round numbers. Well, we know we've transferred to them 10,000 of free collateral. Let's assume that they don't have any other collateral. So then they only have 10,000 of assets. So they have what's called a collateral shortfall, right? So they need 100,000 for dollar collateral. They only have 10,000, so they have a $90,000 shortfall. We're going to work with you on every client that you enroll to resolve that. And really, there's two options, two ways to resolve it. Either reduce, at least in short term, the amount of capital that we're raising to match the collateral that they have, or add more collateral to get it up to the level of the funding that they desire. So we have to bring equilibrium between collateral they have and the amount of funding that they want. But we'll work with you individually, one-on-one, on every client that you bring in to assess their assets, to assess their collateral, and come up with a strategy of what to do. It's okay if they have a collateral shortfall, because one of the options I just mentioned is we could initially go for a smaller amount of funding that they do qualify for, get them that funding, inject it into their business. Now they can grow their business, they can acquire additional collateral, and then qualify for more. Some clients will have to go through tranches of a capital raise because they don't yet qualify for all that they want. So you and I can give them two options. And of course, it's only you talking to your branch clients, but you and I can strategize. Either, okay, let's wait until you meet all the qualifications for the entire amount that you want, or more commonly, let's see what you can qualify for now or very soon, get that tranche injected in the business, grow the business, and then qualify for more. You might say, well, wait, we promised $100,000. What's with that? Yeah, we guarantee $100,000. It's in writing, but we have to qualify for it. And so we may need to build credit. We may need to build collateral, or the third C, capacity, which we'll get to in a moment. So yes, the guarantee is real, and we'll be successful 100% of the time, but we have to qualify. And so now we're talking about what it takes to qualify. So let's move. Well, any questions on the second C, collateral, before we move on to the third C? Just type it into the chat box. Okay, so I think we're okay. So let's move on to capacity. What is capacity? Capacity is the ability to repay the loan. It's also considered by the lender when they decide to set the loan amount for you. In this, your income, as well as your existing obligations and your proposed loans, are taken into account to know how much debt you can handle. Because what you and I are doing is helping clients take on debt. And it's sometimes people shriek, oh my goodness, we're talking about debt that would have to be repaid. Well, sure, that's the way that business finance works. You borrow money to start or grow a business. Hopefully you generate a positive return on investment, so it's a good economic decision. It's called leverage. So with capacity, it's simply stated, can we afford the amount of money that we want to borrow? Well, how is it measured? Because you notice for each of these, we've talked about the topic, then we talk about objectively how it's measured, and then lastly, we talk about how you and I can help improve if needed. So how is capacity measured? It's a combination of the business and or personal income. Historically, well, poor choice of words. In the past, it was primarily based upon validating historical earnings. Now, as of August 1st, the underwriting standards have been relaxed, and now it can be more based on future projections. So we'll literally help them create lender compliant financial projections that show that the business will grow and be able to afford it. So that's a big benefit. Thus, how is it that you and I, through the credit and funding program, can help people? Well, we help all clients with increasing their capacity. Now, some clients might have adequate capacity to begin with, but in general, we help all increase capacity, and that's done really two ways. We can make sure that they have the documentation that shows that they can afford the funding. We're very good at that, legally and ethically. And then also we can help them liquidate receivables. So it's like, whoa, Tom, what's that? Where did that come from? Well, we talked about collateral up here, didn't we? And we talked about that we provide free collateral in the form of accounts receivables. Well, what would any responsible business owner want to do with receivables? You'd want to liquidate it. You'd want to turn it into cash. And so that's what we're talking about here, liquidation of receivables. So let me summarize, and then we'll open it up for roundtable discussion. So in summary, the grant subsidized credit and funding program can assist anyone, as long as they're willing to participate, of course, with becoming qualified. What does that mean? Well, we just talked about the 3 C's, qualifications based on the 3 C's. From that, we can get anyone, we guarantee it, a minimum of $100,000 to start or grow a business. No, there's no minimum credit score for them to enroll. They could have horrible credit or great credit. They're welcome to enroll, and we will provide the same scope of services. Do they have a minimum amount of collateral to enroll? No, it's not required. Thirdly, capacity. Do they have adequate capacity? If they do, great. If not, we'll help them with that. So 100% client satisfaction is clearly our goal. Funding in 30 days is clearly our goal. Now, on the other side of the equation, we have a great referral program. The referral program allows individuals like yourself, if you choose, to help improve the financial literacy of others and facilitate their capital raise. We call that our private label, our branch program. Our referral partners, it's not MLM, it's not network marketing, it's not a Ponzi scheme, it's not too good to be true. But on average, our referral partners are generating right at $12,000 for each client they refer in. So I realize each of you are successful, you're talented, you have to make conscious and educated decisions of how you want to use your time. But what I can help you with, we can work together. We can help people through the credit and funding program. You can generate, on average, $12,000 for each client. And like many of you, we certainly can be enrolling 1 client per day. So if you take $12,000 per client and multiply that times 30 days in a month, it's a good side income. This is not meant to replace what you're doing now. I mean, you could do it full time if you want, but many of you won't. Many of you are consultants, accountants, lawyers. You're doing other things, and this is just a small contributing factor to your income and building your net wealth, your net worth. But it's a good economic platform, and we're helping others. Obviously, you have our contact us information. So who has questions, comments, concerns that we can help any of you with regarding our topic today or otherwise? We wanted to make sure that each of you understood the relevance of the 3 C's and specifically how you and I help through the credit and funding program help people improve their 3 C's. We had and I'm open for questions. Just go ahead and type it into the Q&A. We had a question that came up, or a concern last night of, well, people enroll, will they have other costs? Well, they could. And the agreement template that we provided you says that. We don't know everything about every client when they come in. The common example I give is, let's say that the client hasn't filed their tax returns. Well, do all types of capital require them to be current with taxes? Truthfully, no, but some do. But let's just use that example. So if the clients not file their tax returns, then we didn't promise, you and I didn't promise, hey, we'll pay H&R Block. Just sit back, don't worry, we'll pay the tax preparer. No, that's an incidental expense that we couldn't have anticipated, that we didn't promise to provide. So don't fall into the trap like some of you have started to think, hey, you sign up for the credit and funding, and not only are we going to help you with your 3 C's, which we will, and that's outlined in the client agreement, but if anything comes up, you just let us know. You get a speeding ticket on the way to the bank, you send it to me and I'll take care of your speed. No, of course not, right? Of course not. So we're providing a set scope of services that is objectively and clearly outlined in the client's agreement. If there are issues that come up along the way, we'll guide the client, we'll counsel the client, we'll provide them good objective information. But if there's incidental expenses, we're not promising to pay for it. So an example that came up last night with Eric, Victoria, and Brenda, because they're some of our top producers right now, is collateral. So do we provide every client with free collateral? Absolutely. We promise to do that, and we do that. But what if they still need more collateral? What if their capital raise goals are so high and their collateral is so low, so they have a collateral shortfall? Well, we're not promising to provide them $1 million or 10 million or $1 billion of collateral, because usually we're looking for what, a dollar for dollar ratio. So it could certainly be that even after we provide them free collateral, their balance sheet and or their personal financial statement is still in a shortfall status. We discussed earlier, well, what do we do then? Well, we either reduce the amount of collateral, we reduce the amount of loan that they're looking for, funding at this time, not permanently, but at this time, to match what they bring to the table, or we help them add additional collateral, and we can do that through what we call the collateral support program. So don't misinterpret that just because someone has enrolled in the credit and funding program, that poof, their business is fully credible. There might be other issues that impact. Now, what we're really good at, though, is looking at the client's mitigating circumstances and creating a plan, a funding plan that is best suited to their circumstances, so they don't have any additional hurdles. But until the client comes on board, until we start gathering information, we wouldn't know. Who has other questions, comments, concerns on our topic today? What you and I do is honest, it's legal, it's very much needed, it's obviously very profitable. Again, I mentioned yesterday, we have several of you this week that are projecting to enroll between 20 and 50 new clients this week. I mean, that's a good month, let alone a good week. The program works. We're getting clients funded. We had a client I was notified last night that just got approved for $300,000. That's good. However, in this case, the client said, I will not provide my tax returns. Don't know what she's hiding, her choice, but now she's only getting approved for $100,000. So that's an example. The more credible we are, the more credible we help clients, the more funding that they'll get approved for. But they make decisions. So this client said, nope, not providing my tax returns. Okay, that's your choice. But it reduced her funding literally by $200,000 by making that decision. So you and I, we work for clients. Clients are the customers. We'll follow their lead, but just don't be fooled. Don't be misinformed. Don't be confused. The more credible that someone is, the more borrowing capacity they have. Through the credit and funding, we can definitely ensure that they can raise at least $100,000. We make that promise, which is in writing here, but we can certainly help them with more by helping them become even more credible. Any questions, comments, concerns anyone has? Of course, you have our contact information. Anything we can help you with? All right, well, have a great day. We'll see you back tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Bye-bye.